Just playing your song, mate.
Which one, depending on you?
Oh, am I that bad?
No, I haven't got quite into what you're playing yet.
Well, I mean, it's only 3 chords, and you wrote them. Of heaven.
Oh, yeah. It's more than 3 chords, though. Go to the bridge.
I don't know the f***ing bridge, all right? I'm just learning it.
I knew you'd say that.
I'm just learning
the f***ing bridge. Go learn the bridge.
What's up, man?
How you doing, all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
They've got 3 Sounds of Heaven off.
Yeah, well, it's a banger, isn't it? I mean, this one is, this is one of those moments where I feel you just kind of got to get out of your own way a bit, right? This music just feels, it's just a beast. When you listen back to it, when it was all done, I know a lot of work would have gone into this and bringing everybody in to help you bring it together. It's a beautiful collaboration. But was there a moment when you listen back to it in a semi-complete form, and we're able to sort of acknowledge it from a distance and be like, wow, there's so much magic in this experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good moment. I mean, we're 2 good moments like that. We played it with Keith and Ronnie when we were in the Bahamas, when we more or less finished everything. And then, but we hadn't mixed it then. So then we mixed it. I mixed it with the mixer and Andy, and we were in 3 places. And then when we finished mixing it, we had a sort of 3-way playback. And, it sounds, it's a really good moment when you play something. And it's always a great moment when you play it back like that, and wow, we finished it and it sounds really good and we're pleased with it, because if we hadn't been pleased with it, we'd had to have changed it.
Shelved it. Let's come back to it later. The beautiful thing
no, you've messed with it. You don't, I mean, obviously you mess with it, until you get it right. I mean, it's you got to choose the right songs, because we recorded a lot more songs than this, and then to choose a set of songs, these aren't necessarily even you might prefer one than the other, but they will come out, the other ones will come out, but choose a good balance of the songs you've recorded.
What's amazing when you hear this song as a lifelong fan of your band, as millions and millions of people around the world will, I'm sure, share this same experience, is it feels like the live room, it feels like everybody was just vibing off each other. The moment at the end where you ask Stevie, just play something. It's just such a beautiful moment. Is it true to the experience? Was it that moment of like, hey, let's try and have a magic experience doing this together, as opposed to just
yeah, I mean, it has to be, it's all played live. It's none of it's on the grid. It's all played live, and of course we did overdubs, but it's all played in the room. And yeah, there's that moment, especially in that session where we had Stevie and you're feeling your way a little bit, and then you do that soul ending, which is, you do sometimes on stage where you stop and you start. It's a very kind of true tried and tested redoubling thing. But yeah, I mean, it really feels like, it is played live. On the moment with Paul, when I shout out and he's coming through so loud on this fuzz bass, and I shout out in the Liverpool accent, it's all there.
I mean, we'll get to that hopefully in a couple of minutes' time, but just focusing on this right here, you and Lady Gaga coming together and having that dual collaborative vocal performance is just a beautiful thing to hear. Two performers just pushing each other like that. What was that experience like for you? Because, man, she can really do it.
Yeah, no, she's a really great singer, and I'd never heard her sing quite that style before. Not exactly. We did it live in the room, and that was a great experience. Her just coming in the room and her just opening up and singing her bits and feeling her way, and then getting more confident. And then we came back and then did some extra parts that we hadn't done on the day, and then we did some tidying up, and we were just in the control room, in the overdub rooms, like really face to face, getting them really tight, the parts really tight, and then being slightly competitive in the screaming.
Which brings me to you and Paul, who have been slightly competitive your whole lives. So there's this beautiful thing now of the two of you, just slightly, the two of you coming...
Just for a minute.
Just for a minute here and there over many years, right? Which all adds up to a lot of minutes. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. The beautiful thing is the two of you coming together on a song like this is it's captured everyone's imagination and on the song that's to come. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about that in more detail. But I just want to ask you for now, as a placeholder question, who called who? I mean, obviously, you must stay in touch with them all the time, but how did this become a reality?
We quite often text each other and stuff. But the thing was that Andy had said to me, look, I'm working on this big, it's my complete attention, my complete focus for 6 months. And then he said to me, I didn't really tell you completely the truth because I had this week booked with Paul McCartney right in the middle of the 3 weeks we got booked for cutting. We only had 3 weeks booked for cutting tracks. So right in the middle of the 3 weeks, I've got Paul McCartney booked. It's just the only thing I couldn't cancel. And I said, well, it's all right. We'll take a few days off. It's all right. We got time. And we've got a lot of great stuff. And he said, well, yeah, but why don't we invite Paul for one of the days and get him to play? And I said, well, yeah, that's a great idea. And so so Andy called Paul and asked him if he wanted to come on one of his days that Andy had promised him.
Amazing. So wait, so Paul paid for his session to be on a Stones record?
He gave up one of his recording days, I think, it would be fair.
I still would love that, though. If somehow Paul got an invoice for the day he showed up on your record.
He didn't get an invoice. But he did give up one of his recording days.
That's good enough. The way I look at it, Mick, in this subtle art of competitive living, you won that round, Mick. You won that round.
Well, there's no winners and losers. I think we all won.
The whole world wins. This album, Hackney Diamonds, boy, it sounds so good. What you've created with Andy, with Andrew Watt. The feeling of what is so special about the Stones' chemistry, the feeling just, once again, very fresh, very energized, very, very, very electrifying. But there's been fundamental changes in the chemistry of the band and ongoing throughout your history. Did it feel like a different album this time for obvious reasons? Did it feel strange at times?
Because we don't have Charlie, so that's a huge difference in doing these sessions that we talked about. So though I play with Steve a lot, I play with Steve on the road, and I also play with Steve in the studio. I mean, I've done demos with Steve before, and I mean, he's very enthusiastic, so that's always good. And I think I have a really good understanding with him. I'm interested in grooves is my thing. I'm not just only interested in melody, lyrics, but I'm interested in grooves. What groove should this song be in? What do I think for this band that fits this groove for this song? And because the Rolling Stones are a certain kind of band, so you can't do any groove you want it to be the perfect groove for this band. So then Steve and I would work on the grooves, So I think that used to work with Charlie on the grooves, so it's like experimenting. I would just hang a bit late at night when everyone had gone home, just pick up a guitar and say, okay, so tomorrow we're going to do this one. You remember this one? Because there were so many songs, it's hard for everyone to remember. So we're going to do this one tomorrow, and I'm a bit worried about this. Should it be like this? Should the bass drum be like this? Should the tempo be like this? So Steve and I would work on that. So that's a big difference. And then having Andy Watt as a producer who's very enthusiastic and very cracking the whip and making sure everyone's really working hard. And
Mick, I've got this great idea. Hey, listen, how about we get Elton? How about we get Elton on a song? And we can, in fact, you know what, Mick? I've already called Elton, and he's already in. In fact, he's next door right now as we speak.
But he's not available, Andy. No, not on that song. No, but the thing is, Andy knows when. I think the good thing, one of the great things is you don't need to do the song many times. He knows when it's done.
Yeah.
So you do the song 4 times, and it's done. So that's it. And then everyone will look at him and go, "What? It's done? Yes." And now it's the next one. And that's where there's not sort of lost sitting around and thinking about it. There was none of that. We moved to the next one now. Okay, and we'd all say, "Oh, that's great," and we all applaud each other because it got to be a joke that we'd applaud. We'd finish another track and move on to the next one. And so I think that's really good to know when you've done it, and got to do 18 more tracks and 18 more takes of it, and
one of the things I haven't asked you about. I was watching this Under the Volcano documentary about Montserrat the other day, which is really great. And there was a piece about the Stones and your recordings out there and whatever. Yeah. And it was referring to how the band convenes or reconvenes. And right. I always think that part of the magic of what keeps the Stones moving forward is that you understand there's life and then there's the Stones. And so I've never asked you how do you know or are there any kind of constants to how you and Keith know that no matter what's going on in life, there's a Stones album that has to be made right now. We have to prioritize this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I don't quite know how it works, but that I think I didn't really know where we were with it, and then we recorded a lot of stuff, but we didn't have a deadline, and we didn't. I don't think we were that mad about what we recorded, though. There were some really good things, but there were some things that we weren't crazy about, and there was no deadline, and there was no cohesion, and there was no, finish line or style or anything. And so I think we got a bit lazy and lackadaisical about the whole thing. So, and I said to Keith, well, let's do it another way. Let's have a deadline. Are you up for doing a deadline? Are you up for getting a new producer? And Keith sort of, he agreed with all this straight away. The only thing he was a bit disbelieving was I said it's got to be finished by Valentine's Day, which seemed short, but it didn't seem impossible, and he has to put it on. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. But we made it by a week. And when I said let's go to Jamaica and just hang out and just jam a bit and so on, he was very keen on that because the idea of doing that, of being very loose and so on, and getting this album back on track, and he was very amenable to all this.
Probably not that dissimilar to the Montserrat era, if you think about it, right? But back in the day when you made those records, the idea of recognizing that it doesn't always have to be rigid and super difficult. You can go and put yourself in a place and focus, but that's really lovely to be in.
Yeah, exactly. No, and Jamaica was super relaxed. It's a very nice place, beautiful views, and there's no pressure, but you still want to play and see how things go. And Steve's there, Matt was there, and me and Keith, and that's it. And then we brought it on to the next. We did the rehearsals, involved Ronnie, and that's where we introduced Addy to the equation. Yeah. And then Addy just bulldozed the whole thing through. And he said, "Oh, this is a good song. This is a good song. I love this song." So then then that made it easy. But yes, there does seem to be a moment where everyone seems to be in agreement that they want to move forward. They want to make an album. They are excited and they want to finish it.